In this premiere episode of The American Experience, Two Worlds in One, we will look at The Lesson by Tony Bambara and what we can learn about the difference in perspective between those with economic privilege and those without. For those listeners who have not read the story, it is narrated by a young girl named Sylvia who lives in a poor neighborhood in New York City. Sylvia and her friends are taken on a field trip to a toy store in downtown Manhattan by Mrs. Moore, a well-educated and insightful woman who wants to expose the children to a world beyond their own. During the trip, Miss Moore tries to teach the children about the value of money and the inequalities in society. Sylvia and her friends struggle to understand the lesson, as they are used to their own way of life and have never seen the kind of luxury goods available in the toy store. However, by the end of the story, Sylvia begins to understand the lesson and the harsh reality of the economic disparities in society. I would like to pull your attention to a quote at the end of the story. Equal chance to pursue happiness means an equal crack at the dough. I want you to sit with that for a minute. I want you to sit and think about what a world would look like where everyone had an equal crack at the dough. If we look at the real world, what we see are two different situations. Both have their similarities. They are made up of people. Those people have wants and desires. They live the best life they can. But there is a glaring difference between them. On one side, you have folks who can buy a whole toy sailboat for $1,000. And on the other side, you have a family of 6 or 7 who wouldn't spend that much money on food in a year. What's the difference? Is one intrinsically better than the other? Is one family more deserving than the other? There is no difference. No meaningful difference between the two. Yet they live in different worlds. The real world consists of a multitude of different experiences and situations of those that inhabit it. Each one creates a new world in which they live, each one trying for the same goal, the pursuit of happiness. By world, I mean the perception of their reality. But how can they make that pursuit equally when the difference between one world's toy and another's is a full year's worth of food? Imagine what would happen if economic privilege was distributed equally across all people. How that society would look, what their choices would be, where they would place their values. And ask yourself, why isn't that our world? Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The American Experience, Two Worlds in One. Join us next week for our second episode,